and welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and I'm here to bring you a brand new series, my talk to our general managers and retail leaders from our July 10th Retail Excellence Meeting, shortened for RX meeting, our prescription to win the month. And this talk really was about explaining our monthly budgets. So this was a survey that we had done and learned that our GMs are really interested in how we come up with our monthly budgets. And Stacy and I were talking, and I said, Stacy, really, I've got to add texture to really contextualize the conversation and to talk about our version of the great game of business, or said another way, the way we play the game. So I really went back to the basics, went back to the beginning, and shared really the story of Broad River, how we came through our founding years from 03 to 05, how we went from 2005 to 2014, how we did a leadership transition where I became the president and CEO during 2015, how we broke all of our bones in 2015, and really how we built them back and became kind of modern day Broad River Retail and the company that we are today, and that journey that we've been on really for the last 10 years or so. We'll break this up into multiple episodes. The first episode, I'm going to take you through the early years all the way through 2014 when Manny joined the company. And right before kind of 2015 happened, our 2015 crucible moment. So sit back, enjoy. And by the way, I hope you've enjoyed our previous two series we've had this summer, our Founder Scholarship Fund series that Manny led us through, and then the GM series, interviewing our GMs that Heather Greenwood led us through. So those are two phenomenal series that we've got. So you can go back and watch those if you haven't. If not, sit back, relax, enjoy, and listen to the story of Broad River Retail and the way we play the game.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
I'm super excited, like I told you. You guys know him and love him here. He's looking sharp today. Got the lapel pin, and I look at there, man.
You like that?
You crushed it.
Come on.
I'm telling you.
Come on.
I've explained to most of you, or a good portion. We got a lot of new folks, how budgets, the process that Charlie and I go through. But one of the things that you guys shared back with us is that you would like to have more transparency, or really more knowledge, just more knowledge about how those are landed and I think what he's done here is I think he's going to tell you the entire story, and then he will definitely tell you that as well. So give it up for our CEO, Mr. Charlie Malouf.
Thanks, Stacy. Good morning. Good morning. All right, man, it's great to be with you guys. Y'all look good. Thanks for driving in. The hotel accommodations treating you well? Awesome, for those of you who drove in. And good first start, good first half. Ready to kind of get fired up for the second half a little bit? Let's go, man. You guys got some big momentum. Okay, so this is a topic that, as Stacy said, monthly budgets explained. And I just said to Stacy, I said, I don't think I can tell. Well, I can. By the way, if you want me just to kind of tell about monthly budgets, I can do that. And we can, it can be a much shorter talk, and I'll give you a little bit of time left back in your day. I said, I think to do it well and to do it justice, I got to kind of tell the story of how we got here. So with your permission, I would like to kind of add some texture and context to the whole story. And so I don't do this often. I haven't done this in quite a while, but we have, it occurred to me that we've got so many new people with us who haven't been here for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that it might be beneficial for you guys to kind of know the story. You've heard some things, so can I get some acknowledgement that's maybe piqued your interest on that a little bit? Okay, thank you. All right, great. First and foremost, really it's going to be about the way we play the game. Okay, and it's our version of the great game of business. That is a book from Jack Stack. It's about open book management called The Great Game of Business. I listened to the audiobook several years ago, and so borrowed a lot of those kind of ideas. Okay, first and foremost, you hear Coach a lot talk about Nick Saban, so I got something for you here. We are striving to be what? To be premier. We have set really high standards. It's with a heightened sense, an elevated standard or expectations. We are pursuing excellence. It's in our mission statement. It's to be separated from the pack, to be a cut above, like you all, to be uncommon, to be the gold standard, and like our vision statement, to be the premier Ashley operator. Vision statement, to be the premier Ashley operator. Mission statement, to be an excellent home furnishings company. So every aspect of my talk today and of the way that we play the game can be filtered from this starting position of our mindset. You got to start there and you got to get that right. To go one step further, this pursuit of excellence with the pinnacle of, to put this pursuit of excellence with the pinnacle of standards into proper context, it may be helpful to have a comparison mindset, okay? Our striving to be elite can be juxtaposed to a posture of comfort, a mindset of stasis, that of being content with just surviving, or simply being okay with being above average. Being good enough would be antithetical to our identity. We're not in it for those reasons. If we were, our approach and the way we play the game would most definitely look differently up and down the chain. We are not playing to be average. We are pursuing the championship, the AFL trophy every year. So I think you guys have seen this. Nick Saban says it really well. So indulge me for just a moment. I don't think anyone can characterize high standards any better than Coach Saban. We are competing for the championship every year. You guys are champions. We've won the title. So congratulations, you are champions. You work for the premier Ashley operator. Yesterday's success will be the biggest impediment to tomorrow's success. So just be mindful of that. You got to stay hungry. Okay, so before I dive into the topic of explaining monthly budgets and our process around it, I'd like to add a few stories to add some texture and context to the discussion that I think will help illuminate how we got here. Before I do that, I have one major disclaimer that I'd like to make. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that there are countless people, so many memory makers, who are collectively truly responsible for where we are, for what we have achieved, and who we have become over the years. I could literally spend days upon days talking about all of the contributions over the years that have helped us survive our biggest challenges and biggest crises, and who have helped us set such a strong foundation, whose sacrifices and contributions were precisely what we needed during their seasons of service, and who have helped us thrive as well as we have. You will hear me share a lot of stories today from a first-person perspective, because that's really the only perspective that I have. I really do not want to come across as self-aggrandizing. I really just want to share these perspectives from as I saw them, experienced them, thought about them, and remembered them. In many cases, I also want you to understand how I think about or thought about a situation or a decision in order to be transparent in sharing my perspective. And I don't want this presentation to be self-serving, and I'm not looking for recognition or accolades. I just want to tell you the beautiful story of Broad River Retail and help you have a better understanding and hopefully appreciation for the company that you work for, the company that many of you have helped build, the company that you are now helping to build, and hopefully will continue to build in this place that we call our work home. So this month marks, you see that little tombstone logo, this month marks 10 years since a lot of changes took place at Broad River Furniture. Yeah, before we were Broad River Retail, we were known as Broad River Furniture. BARF, as I found out that's what they used to call the acronym. Before that, we were simply called Ishmore. These stories and more are about to be unpacked. So back in June 2015, I had been business partners with Jonathan Ishii for 10 years, and he was one of the two co-founders, the majority owner and our president and CEO. I was our managing partner and COO. Jonathan and I went to dinner one night, and he just kind of flat out said, hey, I think you should be the president and CEO. So I said, okay, and I asked him when he thought that this should go into effect. And I was thinking to myself, maybe, so this was in June of 2015, and I was thinking, well, maybe like January 1st, start the new year, with a new title. That might give me a good 6 months or more to kind of get up to speed. And I really didn't have much time to even have that thought, because he said he thought that we should make the change right away. Okay? So effectively, maybe 1 week. Okay then. Well, let's go. We've got a ton of work to do. That was my mindset. Okay, so prior to then, we operated on Ashley Homes, which was an Ashleyized version of Profit System, our ERP system from May 2003 when they started until mid-January 2015. Many of you probably had some experience with Ashley Homes, right? Yep, a couple of you. Yep, Chris, yeah. And so for our accounting system, we use, you're not gonna believe me when I say this, QuickBooks Online. No lie. QuickBooks Online was our accounting platform. We were a $100 million company, and we were using QuickBooks Online. Yeah, and it wasn't integrated with our ERP system. And then for all the things, yeah, it gets better. And then for all of the things that we found that Homes lacked, we created our own platform called shopashley.net with several bolt-on applications to help us run our business. For instance, our trouble ticketing system, which is now Freshdesk, our service order system, both booking and invoicing for service techs, our automated payroll system, our repository for sales document scanning, I think we use DocuWare for that now, our package tag module, our supply chain module for keeping up with same-day delivery and next-day delivery groups, and our in-stock reports, our version of Data Warehouse with the ability to run reports for sales and then drill down by store or by salesperson and then drill down to the specific sale. You could do it all in a web browser. It was awesome. ShopAshley.net was our portal. You could drill down to the sales order page, and you would have tabs across the top for trouble tickets, service orders, documents, et cetera. And you could email that page and ask specific questions about a sale. I mean, I loved it. I used it all the time. I spent a lot of time reviewing sales orders, looking at what items and groups were selling, who was selling, celebrating big sales, because you could email it out. Hey, great job on this $10,000 sale. I found it very, very useful. You could review documents and payment terms. And that practice of 10,000 plus hours helped me develop a point of view about the business, which I would need to lean on given what we were about to go through in mid-2015. To really contextualize the story, let me go back even further than 10 years ago. Indulge me for just a bit, and I'll go back to the beginning. Let me paint you a picture of how things were prior to 10 years ago. It may be helpful to further paint the picture if I walk you through our early timelines. We were founder-led for the first 2 years, from May 2003 through April 05. So there's Broad River from 03 to April 05, which was run by Jonathan and Jackson. There was Ishmore, which was the operating company for the Charlotte stores, which included Pineville and University. Quick sidebar, the only reason that name came about was because someone asked Jonathan and Jackson, hey, what's the name of your company? They looked at each other, could like to put it on a lease or something. Yeah, hey, you need a company name. And they use their last names. I don't know, Ishmore, not realizing that it sounded like a terrorist organization. And also not realizing that it would be what everyone within the industry and the press would call them. Oh, how we've come a long way on our understanding on the power of identity. I think we still get mail directed to Ishmore, spelled as one word, and for whatever reason, and some of even our longtime vendors still have us listed as Ishmore in their accounts payable records. The first store was Pineville, which opened in May 2003. They had all of the typical startup founder first-year mistakes and struggles, including cash flow, profitability, and even a funny story about not paying in sales tax collected. I think someone came to them and said, they got some note from the tax commission and said, you owe us all this money. And they looked at their head finance person, oh, we're collecting that. We've got to pay that in. So they owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales taxes that they collected, but were not paying in. True story. Can't make this stuff up. Cash flow. So you're thinking, oh, man, we're doing great. We got all this cash in the bank. Maybe you think you're making 7% profit. Well, 7% is going to the government. That's not your money. Then somehow they survived that first year and realized that in order to thrive, they would have to honor the original business plan strategy and open a second store in the north part of the city. So University opened 19 months after Pineville in late 2004. That's Pineville. Yeah.
Dude, back then looked great.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So Tyler and Edie and I were putting together this presentation, and they said, well, hey, do you have any early pictures? And I got my first iPhone in June of 2007. And so actually on iCloud, I went back to like some of the first pictures I had. I know I got this one. So that's our friend John. He's gonna find it so funny that I got him in that's at a Chicago Bulls game. I think at my bachelor party weekend or something in Chicago. So anyways, I joined a little over 4 months later at the beginning of May 2005, 4 months after we opened the university, on the day that we acquired store number 3, which was in Greenville, South Carolina. There was a second operating company called Hillsborough Retail Group, which was the operating company for Greenville and the upstate stores, which were then Spartanburg and Anderson. They would fall under HRG. Jonathan and Jackson met at Vanderbilt University at Vanderbilt's business school where they were getting their MBA degrees. And there's a Hillsborough Road near campus where they used to live. Such was the story behind the second operating company's name. We would open the original Matthews store as store number 3 in Charlotte in August of 2005 under Ishmore. Then the original Spartanburg would open in October of 2005 as our second store in the upstate. And so, you can see some of these timelines. You've seen this chart before. I'll reference this chart a few times. The original Anderson store would open in August 2006 under Hillsborough Retail Group, and Gastonia would open in December 2006 as store number 4 in Charlotte under Ishmore. The old Kannapolis store would open in July 2007 as the 5th store in Charlotte. And then Jackson exited the business by November of 2007, just as the Great Recession was starting. His dad was the head of Union Planters Bank, which became Regions Bank. He may have had an insight into what was about to happen. His timing and prescience were impeccable in getting out when he did, because the fun had run out of those early startup years. And they were about, in retrospect, I would call 2003 to 2007 the artificial bubble years. Everyone was refinancing their homes, money was flowing, and it seemed like we could approve everyone who walked through the doors. Ashley was the hot brand and would just crush market share whenever it would come to town. It would scare all the competition. We never even thought about, talked about, or worried about approval rates. Sean, you may remember this. Approval rates, what's that? Ashley Furniture Home Stores were partnered with City Financial, and seemingly everybody with a pulse who walked through the doors could get approved. How much money do you want to do? Take the offer from 36 months to 40 months, from 40 to 44, 48 to 60 months. We would just do more revenue, the higher we would go. And if 60 months interest free, it was amazing. What could go wrong? By the way, most of those leases that we signed right here, I would tell you they were not good leases. We would have to either negotiate to lower them or wait them out until they expired, or do whatever we could to get their costs to be less during the financial crisis. This was a time period when there was a lot of pressure to open new stores, to grab territory, or else corporate might award the market to someone else, and the landlord seemingly had all of the leverage on rates. So that's the perspective that was going on here. Well, and then the music stopped. The Great Recession, the Great Financial Crisis, and the pre-Storrs phase. It was Jonathan and I from 2008 to 2014 in our pre-Storrs phase. This was, the beginning of this phase was during the Great Recession and the GFC. They weren't fun years in terms of declining revenues. cutting positions or pay, and trying to figure out how to lengthen our runway and survive. We tried anything. Jonathan didn't take salary for a year. We figured, hey, we'd cut everyone's pay by like 5%, managers' pay by 10%. We had one manager covering 2 stores, and then we said, well, maybe one manager can cover 3 stores. That was too many. Think about that. We had suffering a general manager, we called him store manager or something, covering 3 stores, up to 3 stores. It was not great. But you didn't think that you could raise revenue, so all you were trying to do was cut revenue, cut expenses. Because overnight, revenues got cut in half. Overnight, during the Great Recession, per store revenues literally got cut in half. So there's a whole story about that, but I got to keep going. It just didn't seem like we could increase revenues to what they had been on a per store basis. So we were doing whatever we could to not slide backwards as much. This was when we started bringing in more ways to say yes via secondary and tertiary providers. But Jonathan and I were both recently married, and we'd each eventually begin starting a family. So that added some joy and fun memories during an otherwise really bleak season. When we bought out Jackson, we took on debt in the company for the first time. And really, we kind of went all in right before the financial crisis. But we didn't stand pat and just accept going backwards. And I credit a lot of this with Jonathan and his mindset. We bought out Jackson, like I said, put some debt on the company, and put our cash in at the time, which was really Jonathan putting his cash in. We were driven to make the company more valuable than when Jackson had exited, which was close to the peak and before the crisis had really hit. So we looked for creative ways to grow. We had opened Mooresville as our 6th store in the Charlotte market in August of 2008, and we managed to continue to find ways to grow the company. We would open Columbia, South Carolina on Harbison in December of 2008, then Augusta, Georgia in November of 2009, and then Hickory in 2010. All those stores had different licensees at one point. So we were backfilling markets that another licensee had. These last 3 were much more favorable rent rates. That's one thing about the financial crisis, the leverage on rent rates and what started to shift back to the tenant's favor, okay? So Columbia and Augusta were opened under a 3rd operating entity that we called Broad River Furniture. We were crossing over the Broad River, I think Jonathan was, when we were driving to Columbia, and like the connotation, when the world's crazy and maddening all around you, of something slow, steady, and stable in what a river connoted or stood for. And Broad River Furniture would then become the brand identity for our company. We used to joke that those Broad River guys were pretty smart, pretty good operators, because that was the most profitable company of the 3. The landlords had held all of the leverage during the boom years. In fact, signing unfavorable leases is what contributed to many furniture retailers going out of business during the Great Recession. But the tenants gained the leverage during the Great Financial Crisis because nobody was looking to grow or expand, and a lot of availability was hitting the market. So we would pick up some very favorable leases. It's like what Warren Buffett says about investing. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. We would also get approved for the Raleigh, Durham, Fayetteville market, and we put those stores under Broad River Furniture. That concluded our first store in the region in Fayetteville, followed by our second, which was an upgraded location from the previous licensee. That included our first store in the region in Fayetteville, followed by our second store in the region in Raleigh on Glenwood Avenue. We targeted Glenwood Avenue. The store was a former room store that had gone bankrupt, and Rooms to Go had acquired all of the room store locations, but we had signed the lease with the landlord, and depending on how bankruptcy laws work, if Rooms to Go had rejected that lease, ours would have kicked in. I don't know if they knew that, but when they rejected that lease, said they didn't want it, our lease kicked in. That's how we were able to get on Glenwood Avenue. Probably the only way we were able to get on Glenwood Avenue, because that's a tight market to crack. So we had to fight for that market, the Raleigh, Durham, Fayetteville market, against another licensee who also wanted it. And our presentation convinced the higher-ups and decision makers at Ashley to award the market to us. Because we had found out that they were going to give it to someone else. So we had to really go in there with a strong plan and a good reputation, and they awarded it to us. Okay, along the way, We had a failed experiment. Let me see. Yeah, a failed experiment along the way. This one's not in our milestone chart. Funny thing about that. You won't see savvy spaces anywhere here. We decided to take that one out. You got to have some experiments. You can actually still see some of the commercials on YouTube. They're still there at Savvy Furniture, I think. A little known fact or forgotten experiment along the way, we started a whole other concept called Savvy Spaces. We opened a 36,000 square foot store right next to our Pineville location that was a more higher end with custom ordering for upholstery. It was both a defensive play to hold off another Dirty Windows or Ashley Furniture retailer from opening up next door to us, as well as an offensive play to try to branch out beyond the Ashley brand. We would even open a second location for Savvy Spaces at Smith Corners in North Charlotte. But we shut down the entire concept within 18 months. It was a failed experiment. The catalyst for shutting it down and focusing on Ashley was to focus on building out the Raleigh-Durham Fayetteville market. So we would also develop our mission statement to be an excellent home furnishings company during this time, and the key word there being excellent. At that time, we had joined a performance group with a few other top licensees, like the Spencer Group, the Dufresne Group, and Hill Country Holdings. Sean Seals was with Hill Country Holdings. And we learned so much from each of them during our several years together. We shared best practices. We sliced and diced up each other's financial statements and key performance indicators. We came to believe that the top financial metric for home furnishings companies in our industry was doing 10% EBITDA. We had not been doing that at that time, but that became like the gold standard. And so that's kind of what we connected excellence to, doing 10% from a financial metric. We defined it as an excellent home furnishings company would be one that did 10% profit. It was a profitability metric. And we developed our core values as well, with the caveat that we replaced the word teamwork with collaboration. Quick story there, we don't have this today. I love working with head coach Stacy because he's such a great team player and cross-departmental player. But we had an overly territorial leader who we felt was abusing the use of the word teamwork as one of our core values by creating silos with his team and not wanting anyone else to approach his team without going through him first. And we said, wait a second, that's not what we're about or who we are. So don't talk to my team. Give them the Heisman. That's my team. So to combat this gravitation towards siloed teams, we renamed that core value as collaboration to break down barriers and walls, and we explicitly stated that we make better decisions when we make them together. So we're open for feedback. We want ideas, bring them to us. Okay, but along the way, we had some near misses. Sometimes the best deals are the ones that never go through, being told no. You guys know what I'm talking about. We had some near misses into some other markets that at one time we either seriously pursued, wished we would be awarded with, or seriously flirted with the expansion opportunity. Early on, I know that Jonathan Jackson always felt like we should have been awarded with the Greensboro-Winston-Salem market because they would complain about that all the time. That should have been our market. I want to say that they had a great location ready to go too, but we didn't get that market. Then there was serious exploration of expansion into the Virginia Beach market. I know that Jonathan Jackson took a trip for a site tour throughout the market many years ago when Jackson was still with the company. And during the Great Recession, Chicago was a market that was available and that we almost got awarded. I mean, I honestly thought that I would be moving to Chicago for a period of time. And then there was a time in 2014, Sean will remember this, we seriously explored expansion into the Pittsburgh market. In fact, we even thought about partnering with Hill Country Holdings on expanding into the market. I took a trip to tour sites with Trace White, their Hill Country's VP of real estate at the time. And in 2014, we all but had a deal to acquire Tony Howell stores in Greenville, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Morehead City, and his outlet in New Bern. It was the northeastern part of North Carolina. We thought it was a great adjacent market, but Tony and Jonathan got sideways, and essentially Tony ended up basically doing the deal that we had negotiated with him with another licensee. The reason that I bring these up is because I believe that we weren't ready for those markets at that time. While we may have wanted them or thought that we should have been awarded them, that maybe we deserved them or even had a right to them as much as the next guy, I will tell you that if we had gotten any of those markets, then it very well could have been the straw that broke the camel's back in 2015 when we had hit rock bottom. I think that we still had so much more improving, growth, and maturing to do with our people, processes, budgeting, performance, financials, and financial strength. We weren't ready and would not have executed on them well. Sometimes being told no is a dream deferred or is just saving you from a future failure. Sometimes you have to spend more time internally growing a strong foundation at your core and allowing your character to develop before you can or should really grow externally and outwardly. I will go so far as to say that if we had done just one of these expansion deals, we likely wouldn't exist today in our current state as an independent company. And any one of those could have been the straw that broke our back when we hit our crucible moment down in the valley. Matter of fact, I mean, just to add one more thing to that, 1 or 2 years in, Jonathan and Jackson looked at bringing on private equity into the business, and then I think they wanted me to kind of be promoted at that point, and I would not have been ready, and I don't think our company would have been ready for the valuation and what we would have gotten at that point. So you think about these near misses and being told no, it may not be a no forever, it may just be a no right now. You got some growth to do, and we had to accept that, and that was okay. Okay, this 10-year period from 2005 to 2014, I would characterize the 10-year period as saying that we were pretty good, maybe an above average company. We got recognized as the top licensee when we won the Chairman's Award one year. The award, I looked at the trophy in the trophy cabinet yesterday. It says 2009. I don't know if that's when we got it or for the year that we represented. I don't know, you forget these things. So it was either in 2008 or 2009 that we were awarded the Chairman's Award. But one of the most helpful, enlightening, and transformative experiences was joining a performance group with other top Ashley licensees. We got so much better at understanding our blind spots, our opportunities, our financials through that several-year journey of walking alongside some of the best and brightest minds in the Ashley network and within our industry. We did site visits to all of their locations. We did extensive comparisons on every aspect of our businesses and how we each operated, from all of our KPIs as well as our financials. Fully immersive, confidential, challenging, competitive, collaborative, transparent, and enriching. I cannot say enough positive things about our years being in a performance group with the Spencer Group, the Dufresne Group, Hill Country Holdings, and for various seasons, Howard Feynman's company, SFTF, Will Schaefer's company, City Furniture was in there, Ben Thorud's company was in there at some point. We began our relationship with Beds for Kids during that time frame. We had steadily grown and even creatively grown during these years. We had some wins and some losses, some successes and some failures along the way, but some of the failures, such as not getting approved for a new market or not completing an acquisition into a new territory, could have been blessings in disguise. We were essentially one company, but we had 3 operating companies during that time. Ishmore for Charlotte, Hillsborough Retail Group for our 3 stores in the upstate, and Broad River Furniture for new markets we entered after the Great Recession, Columbia, Augusta, and Raleigh, Fayetteville. And then Manny, towards the end of this time period, a good looking picture right there. Manny had joined the company as our director of talent in November 2014. I didn't pick the pictures, Manny, sorry. Edie did say to me, anyway, she said, Charlie, usually when people get older, they put on weight, but I'm looking at you and Manny, and y'all. Well, so anyways, I said, thank you, Edie, appreciate that. Yeah, that's right. We had an EVP who had exited the company after several years, so we had an opening and we were in need of someone with Manny's expertise and experience. And Manny had a situation where he could have moved to the Bay Area in Northern California with his company that had just gone public, but he and Graylin did not want to move from Charlotte, and we needed help with recruiting talent. So that's the backdrop to contextualize where we were by the end of 2014. And then 2015 happened. Okay, so that was the early year story of Broad River Retail that really helps kind of say how we came from Ishmore, Hillsborough Retail Group, Broad River Furniture to Broad River Retail, and now we get to our 2015 moment. And but to get to that moment, you'll have to join us on Thursday for the second episode in this series. Thanks so much for joining us. wherever you check out your podcast, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Thanks so much for joining us. Let us know how we're doing, if you would, or follow us or give us a review. We'd love feedback. And thanks so much to all of our subscribers who check us out every Tuesday and Thursday here at Stories from the River.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.